So as you all probably know, Trackhouse Racing has had an abysmal 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season so far. They have just had absolutely no speed, no pace, obviously no good finishes either, and their best driver right now is Shane Van Gisbergen, who barely knows how to race on an oval, let's be real. And even with that, their driver lineup is absolutely stacked. Ross Chastain, such a great driver, of course, in the one car. They have one of the best prospects in NASCAR history, Connor Zilisch in the 88 car, and then of course SVG in the 97, the road course king, even though he isn't very good on ovals, even though he has been getting better. And they are just doing abysmal. Honestly, one of the worst teams in the Cup Series. And it hasn't always been like this, obviously. Go back to 2022, 2023, they were just lights out. And today we're going to be talking about what I think happened and how big of a downfall they actually really had. To start off, we're going to go back to the very beginning. Of course, Trackhouse Racing was formed in 2021 by Justin Marks and then also part owner Pitbull, which is the main selling point of the team. They only had one car back in 2021. This is a time where a lot of new things were coming into NASCAR. That included Trackhouse Racing. They, of course, signed Daniel Suarez to drive the 99 car full-time in their first season, which also would end up being their only season running the Gen 6. The year would go all right, considering they were a brand new team with not many resources. Suarez finished 25th in points with some wrecks here and there, but ultimately not a bad year to start off. After the season, though, it was announced that they would be purchasing Chip Ganassi Racing, the entirety of the team, for 2022 and taking over their new shop and also bringing in driver Ross Chastain to the team, who, of course, was on Ganassi in 2021 for that upcoming 2022 season, which would be the first with the next gen car. The funny thing is Chip Ganassi Racing would actually test the Gen 7 car after they announced that they would be selling their team to Trackhouse, but that's besides the point. Now, heading into 2022, I don't think many people expected much from Trackhouse, Chastain, and Daniel Suarez for the 2022 season of the first year of the next gen. But after Las Vegas, minds were changed. Chastain ran up front all day long and finished in third place, which was just so impressive. That would just be the very beginning of things. A few races later at Circuit of the Americas, Ross Chastain would go on to win his very first NASCAR Cup Series race, and it, of course, would also be the first ever win for the Trackhouse Racing team, and what a moment it was. And at this very moment, after the few races of good performance, and then, of course, an exciting victory for Chastain, I think a lot of people all of a sudden knew that Trackhouse Racing for the 2022 season was the real deal. And if that wasn't enough, a month later at Talladega Superspeedway, Chastain got his second win of the season and second win for Trackhouse Racing. And I know it's Talladega Superspeedway, anyone could really win that race, but still was up front all day and had been up front all season long, very high in the points. Same thing with his teammate Daniel Suarez, who's running well also, and the team looks like they're going in the complete right direction. But with all the success, Ross Chastain would unfortunately have a few run-ins with Denny Hamlin, but that's a story maybe for another time. But to make the season even better, Daniel Suarez, of course, their second driver in the 99, their original driver, would score a very special first career NASCAR Cup Series win at Sonoma Raceway, and it would be the team's third win of the season, just about halfway through the year. They were on a very impressive roll at this time, both drivers in the playoffs, and both drivers looking very good. Now, fast forwarding to the playoffs, of course, both drivers made it. They both made it to the round of 12. Unfortunately for Daniel Suarez, he might have made the round of 8 until he had power steering issues at the Charlotte Roval, which eliminated him from championship contention, but his teammate a few races later at Martinsville had different ideas. Now, of course, after a fantastic season, Chastain was in the elimination race for the championship 4 at Martinsville, and it looks like after Denny Hamlin passed William Byron, that was all going to be over. He ultimately missed the championship 4. But of course, it's Ross Chastain. He sometimes has other ideas, and he would create one of the most iconic moments in NASCAR history.
One lap to go! Christopher Bell! If he wins the 1 and the 11, fighting for every point right now, Denny Hamlin, 2-point favorite to get in as the championship 4. Bell out of turn 4. He's going to do it. He's won his way into the championship.
Let's go get us a championship.
And the fight for the point right at the line. The 1 of Chastain past Hamlin.
It was a video game move off into turn 3. He put the car against the wall wide open all the way around turn 3 and 4.
Chastain, Elliott, Bell, and Logano are going to fight for a championship in Phoenix. Take a look at what he did.
I have never seen anything like that before in my life.
One of the most insane moves pulled in NASCAR history, brought him to the championship for it. It's also one of my most viewed videos ever, and he would race for a championship in Phoenix. Ross Chastain would put it up an absolute fight with the big teams, but ultimately it was not enough, and he finished second in the championship race with Team Penske's Joey Logano. But it was still just an incredible year for Trackhouse Racing. 3 wins, championship 4 appearance in just their second season, and it looked like all they could do was go up after that. Now, 2023 wouldn't start off as great as 2022 did for the team, but then in Nashville, Ross Chastain would score his first victory of the season at Nashville Superspeedway, but of course, that definitely was not the highlight of the year. For the upcoming race at the Chicago Street Race, which would be NASCAR's first ever race on a street course, Trackhouse announced that they would actually be signing supercar drivers Shane Van Gisbergen, the Project 91 car for that race. Of course, the Project 91 was used a couple of times for Kimi Räikkönen and Coda that year, and then in 2022 at Watkins Glen. But nobody could have expected what Shane would do. SVG would shock the world by winning in his first ever NASCAR start at the Chicago Street Course. Literally had never driven a stock car in his life before he signed with Trackhouse, and he won the first ever Chicago Street Race. And Trackhouse, of course, once again was on top of the world, and they had another superstar driver. Now, the rest of the season for Trackhouse wasn't the best. Daniel Suarez had a bad year. He missed the playoffs in 2023. Ross Chastain also technically regressed in 2023 by missing the championship 4, but he still matched his win total from 2022 by winning the season's finale race at Phoenix Raceway. 2024, though, would start off with an absolute bang as Daniel Suarez got his first win of the year, only in race 2 at Atlanta in an incredible 3-wide photo finish with Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, and of course cemented himself in the playoffs very early. Unfortunately, Ross Chastain took another step back, and he missed the playoffs that season with no wins in the regular season, but he would have made the playoffs if the win in your system didn't exist. Even with that missing the playoffs, he showed that he could still win by doing that at Kansas Speedway, and got his first win of the season when he was out of the playoff and championship contention, which was still a nice year to ultimately finish up his season. Now, Daniel Suarez, of course, qualified for the playoffs after his Atlanta win, would actually make it to the round of 12, surprisingly enough, and would have a good playoff run ultimately, but of course would be eliminated after the round of 12. So it still was kind of a down year for Trackhouse Racing, and it looked like another year where they just regressed slightly. Now, 2025 wouldn't start off the greatest, but Ross Chastain came into the Charlotte 600 and won one of NASCAR's best and biggest crown jewel races, and in such an impressive victory, beating William Byron and Denny Hamlin in the process. And he was, of course, locked into the playoffs from this win, but he was not, honestly, their most impressive driver that year. Remember SVG from earlier when he won the Chicago Street Race? Well, he is now full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He was driving the 88 for Trackhouse Racing, technically his rookie season, and he won a staggering 5 races that year, albeit all on road courses in Mexico City, Chicago, Sonoma, the Charlotte Oval, and Watkins Glen. But still, 5 wins for a rookie is just unheard of, and made history by being the winningest rookie in NASCAR history. Now, on paper, 6 wins for a single team looks really, really good, and honestly looked like a step up from prior seasons, their most ever in a NASCAR Cup Series season, but if you look deeper, it is not so glorious. Of course, Daniel Suarez, their 99 car, had a horrible year, missing the playoffs and finishing 29th in points. Ultimately, Ross Chastain only won that one race and got eliminated in the round of 16, and so did Shane Van Gisbergen. He wasn't very good on the ovals either. And the whole team, besides road courses for SVG and then that Charlotte race for Chastain, they really just lacked speed mostly, and were not the team we used to see. And with that horrible season by Suarez, it was announced that he would not return to Trackhouse Racing for 2026, and instead we would be replaced by rookie sensation Connor Zilisch, who was absolutely tearing it up in the Xfinity Series, and we thought he would have a great shot to win some Cup races in 26. But my goodness, could that not be further than the truth? Connor Zilisch, now 9 races in the 2026, sits 33rd in points, one of the lowest drivers in points for the Cup Series. All right, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He is a rookie. How's Chastain doing? Horrible. Absolutely horrible for Ross Chastain standards. Of course, currently sits now 9 races in with no wins on the season and sits 20th in points. This isn't bad luck, bad finishes after running well. No, he's had no speed whatsoever at any single point at all this season. I mean, just this race in Kansas, he was running like 25th all day. I mean, there is literally no speed in this one car left, and he just won Kansas 2 years ago. That shows a huge issue with Trackhouse Racing. And the funny thing is, Shane Van Gisbergen has looked like the only decent Trackhouse car this season, even though he's been kind of bad lately. He's actually had the best speed on out of anyone on the ovals. He finished second at Dakota, of course, and he's still having a bad year, to be honest. For Trackhouse standards, sits 18th in points, and obviously none of their cars currently sit in the chase, and it has just been such a disappointment this season for Trackhouse Racing after where they were 2022, 2023, 2024, even 2025 when they won 6 times. Now, I do believe SVG will win a couple of road course races this season and maybe will make the chase, but there's no way Connor Zillis makes the chase. And I don't think Chastain at this pace makes the chase either. And we talked about 2022, how damn good they were as a brand new organization. And now with probably an even better driver lineup, Chastain, of course, is now proven. You got one of the hottest rookies in NASCAR, Connor Zillis, and then the greatest road course racer maybe in NASCAR history, Shane Van Gisbergen as well. And they're not even in the chase for any of their 3 cars. And just to put one final nail in the coffin, the driver that they had replaced, Daniel Suarez, their original driver that they fired from the team after a terrible 2025 season, has been lighting it up at Spire Motorsports and currently sits in the chase. And Spire has been the better team between the two, which just would have been unheard of a few years ago. And for some reason, their team owner, Justin Marks, recently said that the team is doing so bad because they're going through rebuilding. Why are you rebuilding when you have a crazy good roster? Ross Chastain, proven championship contender, Shane Van Gisbergen, best road course racer in NASCAR, Connor Zillich, the hottest rookie in NASCAR. How is that a rebuilding lineup? That makes no sense. Now, they did lose Pitbull as an owner a couple of years back, so that's a little bit less money gone, but they still have so many sponsors. So I think the real issue is that the big proven teams that have been around NASCAR for so many decades, Penske, Gibbs, Hendrick, they have actually pulled away from Trackhouse Racing. Now, the next gen car, of course, was introduced in 2022. Everybody was guessing what was going on, and Trackhouse obviously got it right. Then you look at 2023, a little bit of a decline. 2024, a little bit of a decline. Remember, we're talking about raw pace here, not amount of wins, not amount of whatever. Raw pace that I've been seeing on the track. 2025, another decline. 2026, huge drop-off. Awful. And they are definitely not liking this new Camaro. That is for sure. I just think the huge success they've had as such a young team has really just kind of shell-struck them. They thought they were invincible, but clearly that is not the case. And Trackhouse Racing is all of a sudden abysmal. Now, what do I think the solution is? I'm not sure. Maybe they hire some more people. Maybe they even alliance with a team like Hendrick Motorsports, but who knows, that could be expensive. But they do have a lot of sponsorship money, and they have the drivers, and they need to use them now. I mean, SVG is not getting any younger. I know Connor Zillich is only 19. He's got his whole career ahead of him. But I don't think he's going to want to stay at a Trackhouse Racing that is doing terrible. He is going to move teams if the team continues to do this horrible on pure pace with the race cars. And I definitely don't blame him whatsoever. Trackhouse Racing needs to turn things around, and they got to turn things around very fast. So that'll just about do it for today. Hopefully Trackhouse Racing can turn some things around, maybe win some races at some non-road courses, and maybe even contend with some cars for the chase. But time will just have to tell for that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.